Hello, my name is Stacy. I'm 32 years old. I live in Ottawa, Ontario, Canada, and I live paycheck to paycheck. Yeah, don't mind the Black Power picture of Nelson Mandela, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, and your boy Obama. And I got my little map in the back. These are the vibes I'm trying to give, and with the Grinch onesie, yes. But I really wanted to start off the year with saying Happy New Year, obviously, and I wanted to start tracking my financial journey because I feel like I don't have a finance journey that's so different from most people. I was not financially literate for majority of my life, and so I just want to speak of my life financially from my upbringing, the jobs that I've had throughout my life, and the debt and habits that I have had throughout my life that have really worked against me. And basically, society is like a huge predator. And if you are not financially literate, then you will get taken advantage every single time. And so it's really up to you to research, to gain knowledge on how to take control of your finances, to get ahead, to invest, to have a retirement fund, to have an emergency fund, and all that jazz. So I'm going to be talking about all those things, starting with my upbringing. So I was born to a single mother. I have a sister that's 2 years older than me and a brother that's 8 years younger than me. My mom was 19 by the time she had me and my sister, and she's an immigrant actually from Haiti. She came to Canada, Montreal, when she was 10 years old, around 10 years old. And me and my sister were born in Montreal, and we moved to Ottawa when I was 5, and my sister was 7. My brother wasn't born yet. And when we got to Ottawa, we started off in a shelter, and then they placed us in South Keys area, which is where a lot of my childhood happened. There were several times where I saw eviction notices. There were times where we didn't have hot water. There were even times where we didn't have electricity. My mom was in pure survival mode. My mom is the hardest working woman I've ever met in my life. She went into nursing school and has been a registered nurse ever since I can remember, but she did that with 2 kids. And well, actually, I think by the time she was in school, either she just had my brother or she was about to have my brother. But my mom really worked her butt off to give us everything that we had, and I want to thank her and obviously God for everything, because she tried her best. She did her best with what she had, with what she knew. She did her best to provide for us as a sole provider, and I just could not give her more grace, because you did the best that you could. So yeah, we were in subsidized housing throughout my whole entire life, and by the time I was like 12, 13, we ended up going back into a shelter for about a year to get placed in the suburbs in the West End of Ottawa. And again, there were eviction notices when we got there, but slowly but surely I started to seeing less and less eviction notices, always having hot water now. And yeah, that was basically our financial situation. For Christmas, my mom tried her best to give us everything that we could have. One of my favorite Christmases of all time is when we had asked my mom for bikes, and when we came into the house, she was standing beside the bikes, and me and my sister were so friggin' happy. So my mom really did the best that she could. So after that, in high school, I You know, I definitely did compare myself. I know that comparison is the thief of joy, but I compared myself to people all the time, people with two-parent household, people that just had rich parents or a rich parent, or, you know, people that had jobs. My brother's 8 years younger than me, so I was the default. Me and my sister were like the default babysitters because my mom was working. So I basically couldn't have a job because I was babysitting my brother after school. Um, but I just basically I knew that we were like in the lower end of like middle class. That's like as much like as when we first moved to Ottawa, we were in the poverty line or lower than poverty, like we were poor. But then by high school, I was definitely like on the low end of middle class, which is like, you know, I had some nice things, and then other times I could really feel that I was not as privileged as other people. Also, I went to like a preppier, a nice school, high school. So, you know, sometimes I just really felt that I was poor or that I just really didn't have it like that. Um, and yeah, that's basically my upbringing with money. There was a lot of anxiety, there was a lot of stress, but I just find that just like my mom was in survival mode, I was also in survival mode, my sister, my brother, and we just kind of like masked a lot of things and just I was blessed for the things that I had and for the things that I didn't. Sometimes I was jealous of other people, like, and sometimes I was annoyed with my situation. But at the end of the day, I personally didn't think that my situation was the worst. I knew it could be better, but I did not think that my situation was the worst. So I was thankful for that, I guess. So when it comes to my work journey, so I didn't have a job in high school because I was babysitting my younger brother, but my first job was right after high school. I got a job at Wendy's restaurant, and that was the first time I felt independence. I could finally buy my own food. I just didn't have to rely and depend on my mom financially as much. And it was amazing. Also, at the same time, I was going to university. My mom is Haitian. She expected me to go to post-secondary school, which I did. I went to Carleton University. And the first year I was part-time and I took an OSAP loan. So I took a student loan, and it wasn't the full annual tuition because I was part-time. So it was like less than $7,000 or something like that. And then every year after that, my mom paid for my schooling, which I am so blessed that she did that, because by the time I finished, by the millionth year of me being in school and graduating, I only had the student loan from the first year, which was part-time. So it was like less than 7,000. And so I started paying that off. Like that was the first time I really had to pay a loan off other than my credit cards. So I paid off my student loans by very early on. And I could not stress the fact that I'm so blessed that my mom paid for tuition, because I know that there were a lot of people that either just couldn't afford school, so they didn't go to school, or they were extremely stressed and it was showing in their grades because they had to work full time and go to school full time, which is absolutely insane. The most I did was work part time when I was in school. I can't even imagine the stress. So I didn't have student loans. However, I did have credit cards. I started to have my bad debt pile on when I was in university because I got my first credit card. And again, I was not financially literate. I didn't grasp the concept of interest and how you should be paying your balance off every single month to avoid being hit with interest. And so I basically, in my head, it was like a card of free money, even though I knew that it wasn't my money and I had to pay it back. And very quickly, the interest started piling up, and I was basically in that loop of carrying a balance and paying the minimum, if that. And then I also had my phone bill. So by university, I took on my phone bill. In high school, my mom would pay for my phone. And basically what I would do is I would only pay for it when they were threatening to cut it off. So I was always behind on my payments, which later on I realized how that was affecting my credit, because your credit score relies heavily on paying your bills on time. Not necessarily fully, but definitely the minimum and on time. So your credit cards, your minimums on time, and then your like phone bill, the whole bill on time. So I didn't realize how that was affecting my credit, but my credit score was always trash. I remember several times where I tried to take out a loan or take out credit and getting declined and thinking like, why? I'm pretty sure one of the times I tried to take out credit or like a line of credit or something, and my credit score wasn't bad. It was like 700, but I think because my history was so poor and my income was garbage, I never got the loans that I wanted during those times. So yeah, I worked at Wendy's, I worked at Walmart, I worked at Stats Can for a summer, I worked at Saks Fifth, I worked at Brook Street as a hostess, I worked at Millennium One, a call center, and all these jobs like kind of just sustained my life while still being in credit card debt, because I was always living beyond my means, always. And also I started to like majority of my expenses were just eating out and going out partying, but then I started to increase that even more when I started going on trips. I went to Mexico, I went to Miami, I went to LA, all on credit cards and never paid in full, always paying the interest, always having a revolving balance. It was horrible. In 2020, the beginning of the pandemic, in September, I bought my first car. And being financially literate is so powerful, because when you're ignorant, it can really cost you. And the way that it cost me when I got my car was that I did little to no research. I didn't have a budget. I didn't have a down payment. The price tag, I did a little research, so I knew that I wanted a Honda Civic, and I found a dealership. It was a 2015 Honda Civic, black, in a very good condition, and I believe the price tag on that car was around $12,000. I walked out of the dealership with a contract of around $20,000. I put a down payment, I think I put the minimum down payment of $500 on my credit card. My term period, I believe, was 5+ years. My interest, I don't even know what my interest rate was, but I'm pretty sure it was more than 5% because my credit was horrible. And my monthly payments, I believe, were like around $150 bi-weekly, so around $300 a month. Now, buying a car is such a liability one, because when you drive off the lot, it literally loses value automatically. Thankfully, I got a Honda Civic, which actually retains a lot of value. A car is not just a car payment, it's car insurance, it's gas, it's maintenance. So I just did not understand what type of financial pressure I was putting myself in on top of the credit card debt that I already had. And so, yeah, like it was really taking a toll on me. And then a week later, come to find out,
everybody ate. Can you believe that?
I actually didn't have car insurance. I had gotten a quote because I'm literally dumb. And I got into a car accident because I didn't have car insurance. I had to take the hit myself, and that was like $3,000 alongside with my car insurance and my car payments. Like I was really going through it. And my boyfriend was like feeling the stress because I was so stressed. I didn't know that I was stressed, but just the way that it was manifesting, I was just really down. I was so like happy that I got my car, but I just did it in the worst way possible. And I find that a lot of people do this, especially when it comes to cars and probably houses, because it's like a debt that everyone has, or a lot of majority of people have. So we don't think that it's that big of a deal, just like student loans, but it really is that big of a deal. And it can really take a financial toll on you. I felt like I had a physical burden on me every single day, making those payments and be seeing knowing that I was underwater, but not really tracking everything. My boyfriend had no idea what my financial situation was. I didn't tell him what my financial situation was. At that point, we were dating for a year when I'll never forget, we went to the Dominican Republic in 2021, February. And when I came back, I literally broke down because I went on a trip and I couldn't afford the trip, but I really wanted to go on the trip because like after a year of the pandemic, I just needed to escape. And so I broke down and I told him like my whole financial situation and how like my car payment, like I can't afford my car payment, my car insurance, like I'm really behind on my credit card and all that. And so like, we talked and he just told me like, you need to take control of your finances. Like you need to make a budget. Like this was the first time really someone sat me down and told me like, you need to take control of your life financially, and like you need to make a budget. You need to look at what your financial situation is. And I was so scared. I feel like a lot of people are very avoidant. I personally have an avoidant attachment style though, but people are very avoidant when it comes to their finances because it's like this big scary beast and they don't want to see what it is. But once I actually sat down and wrote down all my expenses, how much I make, saw that I was in the red and by how much, it did empower me of like knowing like what my situation was. Although my situation hadn't changed at that point, I knew what my situation was and I knew what steps I had to take control of my life and be in the green. Because for just the longest, I just thought like that's what my life is going to be. Like I'm always going to be in debt. I'm always going to be living paycheck to paycheck, which I currently still am, but I am trying to change that. And so I just had a really bad perception of myself financially because I was consistently making bad choices, and which ended up making me in a bad position financially. So in February, when I made my budget and I saw what the numbers were, I called my bank, TD at the time. They basically offered me a debt consolidation, which is usually you tell them what your debt is. And because all my like credit cards were under TD, so they already knew what my debt was. And they loaned me the balance on my credit cards. At that point, I think it was like 10K. I ended up taking a balance of like 12K. I don't know why they gave me more than I asked for, but anyways. So they gave me a balance of 12K to pay off all my balances. That loan was an interest rate significantly lower than what my credit card rate was. I believe my credit card rate at the time was like 19.99 or 20%, and the consolidation loan was 10%, which I was completely fine with. I'm just like, get that debt away from me. Like I do not like that interest rate was just so freaking high for me, and I just felt like it was a never-ending hole. And one of the biggest reasons why it was a never-ending hole is because one, I wasn't disciplined, but two, because credit is like a open-ended debt. You can use the credit and you can contribute to paying down the credit, right? So a lot of people get into this like horrible loop of paying it down, but then also spending more than they're paying down, which is literally the definition of debt, like spending more than you make, spending more than you contribute. And so that's what I was doing. But what I liked about the consolidation loan was it was like a close-ended debt where I'm contributing to paying down the loan and I cannot use that debt as like a credit card. So The only way this works is you're paying it down, and I paid it down aggressively. My payment plan was $1,000 a month. I was not making the amount of money to sustain that payment plan, so I actually started doing Uber Eats and DoorDash to pay that down. And one of the conditions for this consolidation loan was for them to close all my credit cards. And I had been watching a lot of Dave Ramsey at the time, because Dave Ramsey is like the guru, financial guru. He has a lot of great like finance ideologies that I agree with. And they did mention that like when you close your credit card, it's going to take a hit on my credit. And like I find a lot of people, when they're in a lot of debt, them closing the card and taking a hit on their credit score is like such a big deal when they've been consistently making poor decisions, which is leading to a bad credit score. Like there was nothing that I could use my credit for, because my habits were so horrible that my score was so low anyway. So it really didn't matter that I was going to be closing my credit cards and like kind of like losing that history, which is a bad look on your credit history and your credit score. But like I was willing to take that hit, because that meant that I was going to be able to have a loan with a significantly lower interest rate. That was the beginning of me taking control of my finances. It took me a year to pay that off, and I was so proud of myself. It was just something that I knew I had to do, and thankfully my boyfriend was a great influence, because I do have to say, when you're around people and you're hiding the fact that you're in like terrible debt, or you're normalizing that you're in terrible debt, like I'd always be like, I'm so broke, which I still am broke right now, but I'd be like, I'm so broke, and like I have all this debt, and then other people would say that, and then like I just felt like, oh, someone else has it, so it's fine, like my situation is not that bad. And I would just do anything to make myself feel better, retail therapy, all that, but really it was just a lot of coping mechanisms and just bad habits that compounded into horrible debt and depression. So that was in 2021 to 2022. Also in 2021, I switched jobs. I went from making like 30K a year to like making 55K a year. Like that jump, that switch from one job to another, it was like a 20K jump, which helped so much, because if you're going to be paying off your debt, increasing your income is like one of the most crucial things that you can do. So that job switch was crucial to my debt-free journey. And then but then I really messed up when I got my car, which I got my car in 2020. But anyways, I had that job that I left in 2021 for about 3-4 years. And after a year of being in that job, they link you up with like a financial planner to make investments, and it goes into your, to make investments. So it's kind of like, I don't know exactly how it worked, if it was like a matching situation with my employer, or if it was just literally like they're taking money, a portion of your paycheck, and then investing it in whatever portfolio that they did. I don't know if they matched it. I honestly don't know, but I am so thankful for that program, because I would not have invested anything. That was my first time ever investing. I really had no knowledge on what was going on. They just kind of sit you down with a planner. They like assess your risk, and then they take money out of your paycheck every 2 weeks and invest it. And I love programs like that, where they take the money before it hits your account, because the way that I was not disciplined, like I needed that to happen. So when I left that company in 2021, my investment had grown to like 5K. And I don't even remember how much I contributed, so I don't even know what the growth was. But anyways, they had a 5K check to give me. I spoke with one of my friends that had a finance job, an investment job, and he told me, based on just the level of knowledge that I had at that time, he recommended TD mutual funds. So I just threw that balance, that 5K, into, I opened an RRSP account, which is like a retirement account in Canada, and I threw that balance into a mutual fund with TD. Now, looking back, I wish that I hadn't done that, but at that time, it was the best that I did. It was the best decision that I could make with the knowledge that I had at the time. I think I contributed to the mutual fund for about a year, $50 a paycheck, something like that. While that was happening, that 1 year of contributing into my RSP, into a mutual funds, I really dove into finances and Wealthsimple was a platform that I learned about, and I decided to transfer my RRSP mutual fund TD balance into Wealthsimple RRSP, but I switched it into an ETF, which ETF you can learn about yourself, but basically it's a basket of like the top American companies like Google, Nvidia, Tesla, Facebook or Meta, and like the fee is significantly less than the mutual funds fee. The people managing the portfolio for mutual funds, I believe the fee is like 2%, whereas ETFs is like point something percent. So knowledge, again, ignorance will cost you. The mutual funds was costing me 2%. They were charging me 2%. So I was contributing less because they were taking a fee out, more of a fee. Whereas when I switched it to Wealthsimple ETF, the fee was a fraction of the cost. Therefore, more of my money can compound, more of my money can sit in my investment and increase. So that was the beginning of my investing journey, which was at that job that I left in 2021. And then I opened up my TFSA, which is a tax-free savings account in Canada. And I started contributing to that. And yeah, so that's like 2021, 2022. In 2022, an incident happened with my car and my car was deemed totaled. I received a settlement of around 12 to 15K. At the time, I believe I had paid around 8K of my car down from 20K to about 12, 13K. So the settlement pretty much covered the balance, the remaining balance of my car loan. I believe I profited about 1K and I gave it to my boyfriend because he had loaned me money and like I ended up paying him back, which like was such a freaking blessing. You have no idea. Then I really felt like, although I was already debt free, I still had my car payment. I no longer had credit cards, but I still had my car payment. And then because of the settlement, I was officially actually debt free, which was, it's like a breath of fresh air. Because I did not only was I debt free, but it's like now I have more disposable income because I no longer have a car payment. I no longer have car insurance payments, and I no longer have to pay for gas. I no longer have to pay for car maintenance, which gas had increased exponentially during the pandemic when I had my car. I believe by 2021, gas went up to $2 a liter, which was absolutely insane. Currently, it averages around like $1.40. Like, shit was crazy during the pandemic. Insane. So yeah, now I don't have a car payment. I'm starting to invest. I believe in 2023 or 2022, the program First Home Savings Account that opened up, and that was another great program that Canada has and offers now, which is basically if you've never owned a home and you want to save for that, you should definitely open an FHSA, contribute to that. I believe it's 8K a year contribution room. And the FHSA is a hybrid of an RRSP and a TFSA. TFSA is just tax-free. When you take out your investment from your tax-free savings account, the government is not going to tax you. That's your money. That's it. Obviously, there's a cap in the contribution room, but yeah, so the government's not going to steal your money like they love to do. And then the RRSP is a retirement fund that you cannot touch other than like certain circumstances, but basically you cannot touch until you're 65, and they will tax you when you're 65. However, typically when you're 65, your income is not as high, so you won't be taxed as much. Also, one of the huge benefits of the RRSP is that when you contribute in your RRSP during tax season, whatever you contribute is subtracted to your income, therefore lowering your tax bracket and potentially lowering your tax bracket. And basically it would mean that you overpaid during the year because they thought that you were going to get your income was here, but now that you're showing them that you contributed to your RSP, your income is actually here, so they need to give you that difference of tax that they've been taking. So I really appreciate the FHSA because it's the best of both worlds of the TFSA, where it's just tax-free, and the RRSP, which is like can reduce your income and give you a refund. And so yeah, if you've never owned a home, I would highly recommend that you open an first home savings account. So I've been contributing to my first home savings account this is the second year that I've been doing that. I mean, it's 2025 now, so the program, I believe now, since we're officially in 2025, is like a year and a half, almost 2 years old. So yeah, my biggest goal right now is investing for a home and staying within my budget and building my emergency fund fully, which would be 6 months of expenses. And in the next video, I will be showing you guys my income, my debts, which is really my credit cards, but I always pay them like I never hold a balance on them. So, but like my credit card be kicking my ass. Also, I forgot to say that when I was paying down my debt, I didn't have a credit card, so I opened a KOHO account, which is like a prepaid card pretty much. So I could never go into debt because the money was already loaded, and it did help with my credit score. So it was like a credit card, even though it was prepaid. That helped a lot. I opened my Wealthsimple account, which they provide you with a card. It's a MasterCard. It's like a MasterCard checking account. So I used that a lot. And then now I'm back with a TD credit card. My bank is RBC actually, because they were having a promotion where you get a free iPad if you open an account with them, which really is, you get the iPad half off. If the conditions is you have to be a customer for a year and open a checking account, and the checking account has a fee of like $16.95. So $16.95 times 12 is whatever that number is, and which is half the price of the iPad. So they really are not giving you the iPad for free, but they are giving you the iPad half price if you stay with them with an open checking account for 12 months, which I am currently doing. I opened it in September, so I have a lot of months left, but I have my iPad, which I love and obsessed with. So I personally think that it was worth it. And then I'll be back with Wealthsimple once that year ends, because Wealthsimple does not have a checking fee, and also they actually pay you interest on your direct deposits. They're making money on depositing money into their bank accounts. So yeah, I definitely will be going back to that. I remember opening a Simply account. At the time, the promotion was if you deposit 3 months consecutively of direct deposits, which would be like 2 payments, usually because we get paid twice a month, would be like 2, 4, 6 payments. They would give you like $350. So I got that. I actually used the Simply not for my full-time job, but for the Uber Eats and the DoorDash. So yeah, I was able to get that all in 2021 or 2022. And then what are other things that I did at the time? I had opened a Shake Pay account, which was like a crypto account. I had contributed in 2021, I believe, around $600 or so in Bitcoin and Ethereum. I believe I pulled out that money in 2023 and broke even though now they've keep hitting all-time highs. So crypto's interesting with that. I don't really want to mess with crypto. Maybe I'll get into a crypto ETF just to like diversify my portfolio, but right now my main financial goals are having a fully funded emergency fund and maxing out my first home savings account and contributing to my TFSA and RRSP if I can. But yeah, my budget is interesting right now when I'm looking at my 2025 monthly expenses. Like, yeah, there are definitely some things that I need to tighten up on and whatnot. And then also me and my boyfriend want to go to Japan this year, so I need to fit that in at some point. So I will be working on doing that. But yeah, that's my financial journey. That's where I'm at right now. I hope that you guys are, if you do have debt that you are currently looking into, you know, budgeting, monitoring your finances, tracking what you got going on and chipping away at your debt, because I know personally firsthand how that can be extremely burdensome on someone and can cause a lot of anxiety, depression, and it just can take a lot of joy out of your life and make you more susceptible of like comparing yourselves to other people, especially like on social media. Like, we live in a society of consumerism, and when you log onto, you know, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, you're constantly being hit by ads. You're constantly being hit by people that seem to be richer than you, that are buying a bunch of things, and it does make you feel bad about your situation. And retail therapy is a thing, and you know, Sephora is very expensive, and cars are extremely expensive if you don't budget it in. Like, I would highly recommend, if you want to get a car, to do your research, to save for your down payment, and to get a used car. 100%. Definitely don't get a brand new car. Absolutely not. Are you crazy? Especially with the prices of cars these days, you're nuts. And then if you want to buy a house like me, to make sure that you don't go house poor, just like I did with my car. Like, literally, I walked into the car dealership and was like, I'm not leaving here without a car. And I did not look and understand my situation and what I could afford. I like was so desperate that they can alter your situation so that it looks like you're getting a good deal when you're really getting the worst deal. The way they altered my car payment to be $150, $160 bi-weekly is by increasing the length of my car payments and my interest rate being high. So like, it looked good for me, but really what they were doing was manipulating it on the back end to make it look good for me. But in the long term, it was so much worse. I would rather have had the bigger down payment. I rather have had the shorter term, and of course the lower interest rate that you can't really control. Of course, if your credit is better, you can get a better deal, but I'm pretty sure the interest rates right now for cars is not great. So yeah, and same with houses too. Like, just because your income results in the bank being able to loan you X amount of dollars, you shouldn't go for the maximum amount that they can loan you, because that just means like you're spreading yourself so thin Sure, you can afford it in the sense that like when the mortgage comes monthly, you can pay it, but then you need to understand like you still need pay for food, you still have like your car payments, you still have your phone bill, you still have insurances, gym subscription, fun, transportation, investments. God forbid you want to invest your money. Like you really need to sit down and figure out what is right for you, what is within your budget, and do not be afraid to walk away. Because I was so desperate, and desperation causes you to like fold and bend and take anything that you can get, and that's how people take advantage of you. And I was definitely taken advantage of at the car insurance, but the only way someone can take advantage of you is like when you're ignorant and when you're desperate. So as much as, yeah, the car insurance place took advantage of me, that's literally what their job is, to sell cars. So it was my job, just like their job is to sell a car, it was my job to do my due diligence and to know what fits into my budget. So okay, there I go rambling again. So thank you guys so much for watching this video. Don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like this video, comment below on your financial situation. If you have debt, if you're currently paying off your debt, click on the bell notification so you know when I post another video. It really helps with the algorithm pushing my video to other people, and I will see you guys in the next one.